Snoopy is finally reaching his potential for us. He might not be the best hitter on the team right now, but he really can get it done when it really counts. And he's almost certainly going to become our best power hitter. Snoopy's development in the comic strip came gradually, and his personality stood out as he was eventually given his own thoughts and human reactions. And from the beginning, Snoopy's imagination became one of the highlights of the strip. Perhaps the most famous part of the strip was when Snoopy was portrayed as being likely to break Babe Ruth's home run record. This was in August 1973. Schultz described the hate mail Snoopy received from fans, which eerily mirrored what was happening to Hank Aaron in real life. And of course, Charlie Brown wound up making the mistake that caused Snoopy to miss the record. So, the one problem with trying to get this done in the morning is that I end up with a lot of glare. This is the reason why you're seeing all of this sun here. Let's get rid of that sun. Let's just go straight over here to the game. And I'll push start in a second here and the demo mode, and we'll get going. So, yeah, it's one of those mornings. We're going to try to get as much played here today as we possibly can. Today we are playing against the Japan Robins once again, which is one of those teams that can beat you if you're not careful, but hopefully we'll have some luck today. Hopefully we can beat them twice in pretty short order. We do have to watch out, though, of course, for Sadaharu Oh, who is the biggest threat that they have. Anyway, that's as you can probably hear maybe in the background for some of this, the heater's on because we're down to freezing again this morning. We're not quite out of winter yet, which is a little bit frustrating, because usually here the winter doesn't last this long and it's not quite as harsh and cold for so long. But for whatever reason this year it's been pretty rough, pretty harsh, pretty cold, and it's just sort of lingered forever. So hopefully we'll be able to get out of this before too long, and we'll have a little bit more luck here coming forward. Well, she just barely got in there, didn't she? So, okay, well, we have a runner on. And Frida's dangerous with anybody on base. I had to move back for that one, but I think Lucy's going to score anyway. But Frida just barely got in there at second base as well. So that was pretty good. So yeah, it's a nice morning out here, aside from the cold. I hope things are going okay wherever it is that you might be. That's the way that you run the bases. And when you talk about sort of the end of winter and all of this stuff, I feel like it's happening all over in real life, right? We're going to go back to the real baseball season here before too long. And fortunately for us, there will be a 2026 season. We'll see what happens for 2027 and whether there's a work stoppage or not. That's always a pretty controversial subject depending upon sort of what you think about the politics that are involved and everything else. So we'll see what happens in the end. I do have sort of the beginning of the season on the mind, though, as you know, I've got my 1919 replay that's been sort of dormant for a little while. There you go, Linus. I've been doing a lot of research today in hopes of playing the next game of that replay here for you on this channel sometime later on today. So we'll see if we're able to get that done or not. I'm actually about to, once I'm done in the gym, I'm going to go out and do a bunch of the normal Saturday chores to try to make sure that this can be a possibility for us. We can get this game played later on. So I've been looking at a lot of newspapers from April 1919, April 23rd to be exact. And it's really, really interesting to see sort of the reaction that people have in America as the Great War had come to an end and, baseball was back and taking over and all of that. So there's sort of that feeling in the air of, rejuvenation and excitement after the long, hard winter is over. I'll tell you, America in 1919 was definitely a different place than it is today in 2026. It's over 100 years ago, of course, but things were quite different in those days. This is long before there was a freeway system. How about that? Oh, we'll take that. 6-0 now. Oh, that would have been another hit by pitch. I should have not swung at that. You know this is going to be a pop-up. I mean, she doesn't have enough power. That's only the first out. So we're doing okay here today. Anyway, so yeah, there's going to be a lot to talk about here in terms of, oh, baby. Oh, yes. There's going to be a lot to talk about here later on in terms of baseball history and other things. Lots of good stuff coming up here in the future. I may end up doing a few more videos and more posts and stuff like that talking about baseball history. That was sort of the idea behind it. I was going to do a whole bunch of writing this morning, and then somehow that turned into me going back and playing this game. So, not that this game would be habit-forming or anything like that, but you know, when you turn around and you realize that you're spending more and more time playing Baseball Stars, that's kind of a hint of the kind of game that it is. And it's the funniest thing, you know, this game is relatively simple. It kind of plays the same way over and over again, but there's just something refreshing about playing it, right? It makes me feel like I'm a kid again, so that's part of the fun. Although, when I was a kid, I don't remember scoring 13 runs in the first inning. And remember, we didn't actually improve our hitting after our last win. So I don't know where all of this comes from. Here's the man of the hour. Oh, there he goes. Oh, we almost got hit by that one too. You can see me sort of doing the old Dusty Baker, trying to move into that one. Oh, come on. Come on, that was inside. The umpire's gonna screw me out of this win by making these ridiculous ball strike calls. You know it. That might actually fall. No. So we only get 13 runs in that inning. Now we have to watch out because Peppermint Patty has a habit of giving up home runs, so we'll see what happens. Someone was telling me in the comments, though, that the team we played yesterday, the World Powers, really only have the ability to hit home runs, which is why we gave up three you know, first inning home runs, or not first inning home runs, 3 solo home runs is what I was going to say. Now this is the Danger Man. There goes the Danger Man. Alright, so we win this one 13-0 in 1 inning, and we'll give you another game right away. I don't know if we were expecting it to be quite like this. Peppermint Patty with her second win, and then home runs, 2 for Linus, 1 for Pigpen. Pigpen has 17 home runs already. And we get our 90,000, great. So we'll do the same thing that we did before. We'll just go straight away, and we'll let these teams play against each other. So it's going to be them against them, right? Brave Warriors against American Dreams. No surprise. And then the other one is going to be the World Powers against the Ninja Black Sox. So there we go. And the World Powers actually won. That is a surprising outcome. So we'll go on up here and we'll play against the Japan Robins again. And it will be just as normal. So we're only about 7 minutes into this video. I mean, if I were going to stop the video here, I wouldn't get the precious YouTube mid-roll advertising, right? So it would be an economic disaster for me to start here, unless through some miracle we ended up with, like, you know, 100,000 views on this video. Now, if that were going to happen, I'd be really excited because that would mean that people are actually interested in this game again. But, you know, probably will not have such luck, but you never know. You never know. Things might happen. Stranger things have happened on the platform. Regardless, you know, remember to tell your children and friends and relatives and the rest that this is the best Baseball Stars series on YouTube. It might be the only series, but don't mention that part. Here comes Lucy. See, if I don't swing at pitches like that, she has a chance of actually getting on base. The problem that they have is that if you throw a strike to Frida, that happens. That's number 11. We've been dominating. Now, I'll tell you something interesting. As I've been doing this project, I've found myself going back and actually rereading all of the old Peanut strips. I have copies of every single one of the republished books, including the Peanuts Every Sunday that has those Sunday cartoons in color. Now, I think in many cases it's actually reconstructed color. I'm not sure if it's always that accurate. But it's been fun to go back and read it. You know, a big part of my childhood was actually spent reading these books. My parents had copies of it from before I was born, I believe, and so it's kind of always been sort of sitting around the house. When you're a kid, you gotta find something to read, and so you pick up, you know, the old Charlie Brown book, and then, you know, next thing you know, you find yourself interested in sports like baseball, and you find yourself sort of picking up on American culture, and so I do have a number of these books in paper copies as well, hoping that my kids would pick up on it the same way. I don't know that it necessarily had the same effect, but, you know, we got a little bit done here, right? Wow, we're actually going to play more than one inning this time. Imagine that. Anyway, Peanuts is an interesting strip because of all of the sort of like psychological things that you see in it, the lovable loser and all that stuff, unrequited love and everything else. It becomes a little bit different when you're an adult, but as a kid you don't really necessarily think so much about it. You feel like you can identify with a lot of things in the comic. And then of course there are all the TV specials and stuff like that, some of which I honestly think are overrated. I mean, everybody knows about, you know, Charlie Brown Christmas and stuff, you know, which I used to watch all the time as a kid. You guys are gonna hate me for this, but these days, around Christmas time, I'm not watching any Christmas specials at all. I'd rather spend my Christmas time playing some, you know, playing through some of these Sims and getting back into the world of baseball, so that's kind of where I am. I'm probably pretty unpopular around these parts when I think about it. A lot of the other Peanuts specials that were filmed, they're okay. Some are alright, some are not. When I was a kid, I liked Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. I remember watching that one, and we must have rented that at some point in time, and I remember enjoying that. And then I watched it again with my kids. This is probably about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago or something, and I don't know if it's necessarily aged all that well. It might be the effect of things like Japanese animation and stuff like that, right? When you realize sort of what else is out there, all of a sudden, you know, certain forms of animation seem a little bit crude and primitive and all that. Anyway, it's all good. As you can tell, I'm just trying to distract myself so that we can continue playing well, and it's not working. And Frida pushed a little bit too hard for the home run, and didn't quite happen that time for her, so it is. So I'll give you a little bit of a preview for this 1919 game that we're going to have. So the Philadelphia Athletics, at the beginning of the 1919 season, started this guy as a pitcher named Scott Perry. Scott Perry is a very, very interesting player because he was a fantastic pitcher in 1918. The thing that's interesting about him is that you've almost certainly never heard of him. So Perry, in 1918, started pitching for the Athletics. Philadelphia, of course, was still suffering from the end of the $100,000 infield. Right, Connie Mack had been trying to, like, sort of completely reconstruct the team. Perry was the sort of player that Connie Mack would go after, you know, kind of, I don't know if he was necessarily like a superstar in the minor leagues, but he was a player who showed a lot of promise. And so Connie Mack decided to bring him on, and then in 1918, he had Perry pitch 332 innings. Perry wound up with a, shoot, we're down now. Perry wound up with a 2019 record in 1918, which is one of those things that is pretty interesting when you think about it. So back then, you know, your won-loss record was basically, you know, the evidence that you were either a good pitcher or a poor pitcher. And so apparently he was good enough to win 20 games with a really bad team, but he also lost 19. Of course, the reason why he pitched so many games is because, you know, so many players were off with the war effort and all of that. So basically the Athletics had to start somebody, and so they started Perry. The interesting thing about Perry is that he kept jumping away from the major leagues. He would go play for this, what was it called? The American Steel and Wire team in Chicago. So he had tried, I think, on multiple occasions to, get going with the Cubs after he'd played for Atlanta for a little while, and didn't quite happen. It was Connie Mack who really gave him his big chance. And the funny thing is that at the end of 1917, Perry had gone back to the semi-pro Steel and Wire team. There's all of this controversy that happened in 1917, I believe it was, 17 or 18, where different teams had a claim on him. It wasn't entirely clear who he was sold to when he left Atlanta in the minor leagues. And in the end, the major league sort of allowed Connie Mack to keep him for the 1918 season, and it was because they were a little bit worried that if Perry had taken his case to court and tried to, win his free agency, that a lot of baseball's more ugly practices would end up being exposed. It gives you kind of an idea of what was really going on in the majors at that time. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. It was actually June 1918, when they finally had a decision. There was a court injunction and stuff like that. He had a good start to the 1918 season, which is why they kept him around. It was Boston. I don't remember if it's the American League or National League team that had the claim on him. There's a lot of really, really shady stuff in baseball back in those days. And this really continued up through basically the establishment of the minor leagues. But there would be all sorts of secret arrangements between teams. I see the establishment of the minor leagues. I mean the establishment of the farm system, which came around finally in the 1930s. It's interesting, as you know from my other videos, if you've watched all of them, and my condolences if you have. I tend to be a very strong proponent of independent and free minor leagues. I strongly believe that minor league baseball would have been much better off if there weren't these, crazy relationships with the major leagues. At the same time, you have to realize that even in the glory days of the minor leagues, these relationships existed and they were kind of quiet and people didn't always talk about it. So to give you an idea, like what would happen back in those days is you'd have teams like, say, in, I don't know, San Francisco or something like that in the Pacific Coast League. And maybe the team was doing okay locally, maybe it wasn't. But, the major league teams might have like an overcomplement of players, you could say. Maybe they had a bunch of guys on the payroll and they had to stick them somewhere, and so they would decide to send them down to somewhere in the minors and let them play there for a while. Now, with the advancement of like the organized minors, there are a bunch of rules around this these days. You can only send guys down for a certain amount of time. If they have certain major league tenure, you have like the right to say that you're not going to go to the minors and all that other stuff. So there are developments like that that have come in the game over time to sort of help protect players, especially players who are a little bit older. Now, the big question you have to ask is, whether these protections actually help protect against owners doing kind of weird things with players that they probably shouldn't. So there was an article recently in Baseball America talking about how the average major leaguer these days is a lot younger than he used to be, and how there's a very, very small number of plate appearances involving guys older than, I think it was 32 is the cutoff that they made. I've been thinking about that, and I do wonder if part of this isn't an attempt by the owners to get around some of the like pension rules and arbitration, free agency, and stuff like that. It's kind of an ugly thing to talk about. It's not the sort of thing that we always like to put an emphasis on, but it's something that you do have to think about if you're a fan of the game. There we go. Yeah, we wanted to push that over to the right side, and that worked. Alright, let's see if Shermy can go deep. Yeah, that's kind of deep, not deep enough. Alright, so I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to fully distract myself here. You'd call that a strike, huh? I have a feeling that this pitcher for the Japan Robins is a little bit better than the one we faced yesterday. I think that's the difference. Charlie Brown is falling apart here. We're going to have to take him out pretty soon. The nice thing, though, is that with this extra stamina that he has, we can leave him in the game a little bit longer than we had been before. And now we gotta take him out. We are down 3-2, so this is gonna be an interesting comeback if we can make it happen. Anyway, the reason why you don't know much about Scott Perry is because after 1918, he was never really the same pitcher again, unfortunately. So Scott Perry had his moment in the sun, his single season in the sun. His ERA in 1918 was below 2. It was, what, 1.98, which is pretty good for a guy who lost 19 games. Just the team around him was pretty bad. And in real life, in the opening game of 1919, he went 13 innings against Walter Johnson and lost a 1-0 game. Can you imagine that? That's probably the highlight of his career, going 13 innings against Walter Johnson, and yet nobody remembers you. There we go. Walter, of course, the Big Train, they used to call him Barney in the newspapers. The Big Train was an absolutely incredible pitcher. We underestimate today how good Walter Johnson was. Johnson pitched over 300 innings for like 10 straight seasons. In 1913, he went, geez, man, we can't get a base hit. In 1913, he went 36-3, I think, 36-7, something incredible like that. He won 36 games. Of course, it was 1912 that he struck out over 300, which was insane in those days, because it's back when guys just wouldn't strike out. Boy, Shorter just barely missed a home run. I wasn't intending on one of these games being close. I thought for sure that we would win both of them in a laughter. Of course, you remember the last time we faced these guys a couple minutes ago, we got $90,000 for our trouble. Yeah, see, that's the problem right there. The reason why I say that is because when we beat the American Dreams, we got just over 100,000. So, you know, there's not necessarily much of a reward for beating the better team when you're playing in league mode. In fact, this is one of the reasons why we probably should have had the lovely ladies here so we could guarantee ourselves a big payday. Of course, we're getting to the point with this team pretty soon where it's not really going to matter that much. The thing that really matters for us right now is trying to make sure that we can actually win these games. Alright, so no pressure. Man, we just can't get a base hit. There we go. You knew it was going to come eventually. That's number 18. Speaking of breaking Roof's record, 18 now for Pigpen. It's going to be hard to catch up with him. So he might be dusty and dirty, but I don't think anyone really cares. The one sad part is that we're not going to be able to save all of our pitchers because we are going to have to use quite a few here to get out of this game. But hopefully we can get some runs across. Boy, that one had eyes, didn't it? Linus almost gets thrown out at first base by the right fielder. It's a little bit hard to adjust from seeing those 40-mile-an-hour fastballs to seeing this all of a sudden. Yeah, better safe than sorry, I think. I was hoping Snoopy would be the hero, and instead he's just popped up. But this might do it. This might drop, and it does drop. So he ends up being the hero anyway. Go, 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 go. Ah. Look at how far out Snoopy went, the shortstop. Alright, here's the danger, man. Just keep it. We're gonna keep everything in on the fist. Yep, that's exactly what we wanted to do. But unfortunately, this is gonna drop. It's alright, as long as that ball doesn't go deep, I think we're okay. Look at this, they're pinch hit. No, they're gonna do a pinch runner here. Oh, shoot. So much for coming inside. Alright, so we're down 5-4. It would be pretty embarrassing if we lost to this team. I think that we lost to them before, though. Didn't we lose a game to them a little while ago? Alright, well, just a little bit more to go. Alright, let's see what she can do. Go through, go through. Oh yes, there we go. And now we're gonna do the thing that you've been waiting for. Woodstock's gonna come in as a pinch runner. And you can see the reason why, look at that. That'll load him up. Big Pen with a chance to be the hero. And he is the hero. Look at that. Boy, that didn't take long for the manager to take him out, huh? There's your ball game. So we win this one in dramatic fashion. It's been a while since we have had a really close game like that. 6-5, I feel like we really got away with something there. 3-run gets the win, 3-1. We had a number of home runs, especially number 18 by Pigpen is a big one. Snoopy hitting another home run, so like I said, he's getting up there. And it'll be another 90,000, thank you very much. So now we have $180,000 to do what we want. The first thing we want to do is we want to have the Brave Warriors play against the American Dreams again. And we're also going to do... see if I can figure out which one was the other one. The other one that has 4 games played. Yeah, this one right here. So Ninja Black Sox against the World Powers. There we go. So, just so you know, looking at the standings here, this is an ugly standing screen. This is the one that we care about. We're 15-4 now. And, I mean, we've got huge space between us and the number 3 team. What we have to do now is improve to the point where we can beat the American Dreams. That's what we really need to do here. So we have, what, 180,000 in the bank? I don't think that we're going to improve either one of them because they're at 50,000. I think we're going to be looking at these 3 pitchers, 40, 80, 120,000. So we're going to improve all of them once. Yeah, 197,000, not bad. Alright, now here comes the big question, which is what do we want to do with all this money? I think we're going to go ahead and do this. Might be sort of controversial. We'll do something like that. And we'll just sort of gradually improve these pictures. So yeah, she's kind of our closer. And we got a little bit more money here. I mean, we could try to improve his defense again. What I kind of want to do, though, after seeing her struggle, is I want to improve Lucy's hitting a little bit here. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. Have her hitting go up to 15. I'm trying to remember which position. She's in the outfield somewhere, so defense might not be that important for her, but we might try to get the batting up eventually too and try to make her into like a formidable slugger for us. And then we have a little bit of extra money. I'm going to keep Slobotnik at 0 hitting because I think it's funny. Woodstock can actually get some more running here, so we'll pump him up a little bit. And that pretty much does it for us. Anyway, so there you go. It's going to take a while for us to get everybody up to where they need to be, but those were 2 very good wins, especially that second one. And look at that. I've got you out of here in about a half hour or so. So hope you're having a good day, and I will talk with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.